Hello and welcome back to Autism at Home. We are on the third lesson of our flexibility series, which is taking turns and sharing. 2020 was definitely a year of adaptation and change as the whole world grappled with COVID-19. Everyone, including children with autism and their families, had to cope with the sudden change of staying indoors for several months. This includes brothers and sisters needing to stay home all the time and play more together. Inevitably, with everyone being at home for extended periods, there are going to be times when we step on each other's toes. This includes having to take turns with games, or the TV, or having to share toys. Hence, this lesson will focus on two skills. First, we will talk about how to teach a child with autism to take turns with others. Then we will talk about how to graduate this to the more complex skill of learning to share. Sharing is harder than taking turns because it involves giving something you have to someone else without expecting to get it back again. The benefits of knowing how to take turns and share are obvious. A child who can take turns and share is more likely to build and maintain positive friendships in school. It is, in essence, a flexibility skill because it involves the child being okay with not getting what they would usually want, which may be all the toys, screen time, or snacks to themselves. So to teach the Taking Turns program, this is what you will need: a social story explaining what taking turns looks like, a timer, separate pictures of the child's face and the faces of other people they may have to share with, such as mom, dad, or their sibling, and a video model showing the action of taking turns. As with any skill, think about where your child's threshold is when it comes to taking turns. Are they able to take turns, but only for a very short duration until they want it back? Can they take turns with less preferred toys, but there is a specific toy they absolutely cannot share? Are they able to take turns with dad, but not their brother? The answers to these questions will guide how you break the skill down from easiest to hardest steps. Let's look at a simple example of how to break down taking turns by just the duration the child has to wait to get their turn. In this example, we would assume it would be difficult for the child to do two things, which is to give up the toy after a short duration, as well as wait for someone else to be done with the toy. Hence, to make it simpler, we focus on only one skill, which is having the child to wait for a longer and longer duration for someone else to have the toy, while they themselves can have the toy for a good 30 seconds. This is another example of how to break taking turns down. In this example, we assume the child has already learned the concept of taking turns, but finds some things easier to take turns with than others. So we break the skill down by the difficulty level of the play they are taking turns in instead. As you can see, teaching a child how to take turns very much depends on what it is about that skill they are finding hard. So this is how we go about teaching taking turns. First, read the social story on taking turns and show your child the video model of what that looks like. Then set up an activity. Let's assume the child's name is John. To cue that it is their turn, we would flash their picture and say John's turn. When they have had their time with the toy, say Mummy's turn or Daddy's turn. Take the item and start the timer for however long they need to wait. When the timer beeps, give them back the item, praise and reward them for taking turns nicely. Let's see that in action after reading the social story and showing the video model.
Okay, it's Lee's turn. Lee's turn to cut. Cut, cut, cut. Good job. Okay, it's Steph's turn. Steph's turn for 5 seconds. Good job. Chop, chop, chop. Lemon, apple, chop, chop. Hey, look at that. It's Lee's turn. Here you go. Good job. Alright, it's gonna be Steph's turn soon. In 3, 2, and 1. Steph's turn. Good job. Well done. Here you go. Hey, good taking turns so nicely. I'm gonna add some snow spray. Ew. Pop quiz. You might have noticed, the adult flashes pictures of the child or themselves every time it is that person's turn. Why do you think they are doing that? So the child has something to look at, so they know who is who, or so they know whose turn it is? The most accurate answer is C. Visuals are your friend. Showing the child pictures of who is next makes it extra clear and unambiguous whose turn it is. Additionally, the timer is another visual that makes it clear to the child what 20 or 30 seconds looks like and helps them to cope better.
You might also have noticed the adult in the video using words like mummy's turn or John's turn instead of saying my turn and your turn. My and you are what we call pronouns. Children who have not yet learned this separately can find it hard to distinguish between them and not know who the my and your is in the situation. So using each person's name just removes the uncertainty. John's turn, Sarah's turn, the same way the pictures do. If your child has not yet learned pronouns, stick to using each person's name first. So that is all about taking turns. But what about the more difficult skill of sharing? The procedure and materials are quite similar. The only difference with taking turns is the understanding that you may not get back what you shared. You will need a social story and video model about sharing to teach this skill, as well as an item for sharing. These are usually toys or foods you can break into smaller parts, such as cookies or Legos. Again, breaking a skill down must be individualized to the child. Some children struggle with sharing across the board, while some children struggle with sharing very specific items. In both cases, you want to start with items they find easiest or do not mind sharing, before working up to difficult items. In this example, we assume the child can usually share, except for their favorite cereal during snack time. Something like cereal can be easily broken down into smaller quantities, working our way up. The procedure is as such. As usual, read the social story and show the video models so they understand what sharing looks like. Then start with the food or activity they need to share. Say, let's share, can I have, and take out how much it is you're practicing at that step, be it one piece or half a handful. If your child does not protest or says okay, praise them by saying good job sharing and reward them immediately with a strong reinforcer. Let's watch an example after the social story and video model.
Hey, let's share. Can I have one piece?
Okay.
Okay, hey, so good. Good job sharing. Here is your chocolate milk.
Now, with both taking turns and sharing, we would utilize reinforcers temporarily while the skill is still being learned. As the child gets better at taking turns and sharing, we can fade off the reinforcer so they do not become dependent on expecting a reward every time they take turns or share with their friends. Now it's your turn. Depending on where your child is, teach them the skill of taking turns, sharing or both. Remember, taking turns must be taught first before sharing. Break the skill down depending on your child. If you're teaching taking turns, what items are they unable to take turns with? What is the maximum duration your child is able to take turns for? And whom are they unable to take turns with? If you're teaching sharing, what are they able to or unable to share? How much are they able to share at this stage? And whom do they need to share with? So that was it on taking turns and sharing at home. The next lesson is also an important one and just as crucial a skill as waiting or taking turns: tolerating or adapting to changes. Many children with autism like things to be the same or have certain rules of how things need to be done. But the truth is, change is a part of life and will happen anywhere and everywhere we go, as 2020 has taught us. It is important for a child and the child's family that they are able to learn to tolerate changes when they happen, and we'll teach you how to do it in the next lesson. If you haven't already, Do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the corresponding articles and necessary downloadables for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. All the best and take care.